was a local newspaper available somewhere on the campus, and I picked it up. It was just a free paper or whatever, and they did a thing on fracking, and they presented 4 different issues, and it was a student project, but I noticed only one of the issue, like only one of the sections, dealt with environmental concerns, and it was almost like as if they kind of just gave it a little lip service. The person that wrote that part did a really good job, but it by far received like the least amount of coverage, like the least space in the sections, and I kind of thought, geez, this is coming from academia. I mean, you know, the mainstream media at large, what can we expect? Do you think that's still kind of the case, or do you think that we've evolved a little bit on the fracking issue in Pennsylvania?
Um, I think that it's, in my opinion, in the past couple of years, it seems like the stories coming out in the media have seemed like they slowed down, especially after what's happened in Dimick. But just recently, we had our governor who said he would not sign any forced pooling measures. He actually just signed a bill into law yesterday that is allowing forced pooling, and so it's still being like it seems like activists in the state are still getting steamrolled by the government on this issue. And then and it's also a few weeks ago, the Democratic Party met up the delegates in the Democratic Party, and they actually passed a fracking moratorium measure for the 2014 gubernatorial election. But at this point, it seems like that no candidates are willing to step up. A lot of people, a lot of Democrats, especially from the southeastern part of the state, like the mainstream Democrats, not like your everyday, but like the ones who are like the power brokers in the state, they really just they don't see that as an issue that we should be trying to fight for 2014. Like they think it's here, it's going to stay, so why even bother? So there's also like an institutional problem within our own party if we're trying to get like a Democrat in office.
Well, one thing I would like to add to that is that while Sean is dead right about that, what I would like to say is that, you know, if you think about this from a perspective of social movement building, okay, there has been a significant shift. When we were first reporting on fracking, and then right when before Corbett took office, actually, the kind of split that Sean was speaking to with the Democrats in kind of, you know, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh to a lesser degree, because Pittsburgh was seeing such direct impacts early on, but especially Philadelphia, they didn't care about fracking. As a matter of fact, when we were at Netroots Nation in last summer when it was in Providence, we went to a Pennsylvania breakout session, and Sean brought up the issue of fracking, and we were talking about fracking a little bit. And a guy, clearly from Philadelphia, clearly a Democratic Party activist, was getting very upset in the audience.
I wasn't the only one. And I wasn't the only one to bring up the fracking issue. There's plenty of other ones as well.
Yes, absolutely. And this guy in particular was like, really, are we going to spend this whole time talking about fracking? Fracking doesn't matter. Something to that effect. And Mike Morrill, who's from Keystone Progress, who was kind of coordinating that session, he basically said, I mean, that, you know, right now, the fracking issue was not considered front and center in the Democratic Party, right? It was not saying what Sean said about a winning issue. Now, what's happened since then, in part because the fracking issue is getting traction, it's getting national traction now, in part because of Corbett's deep cuts and his refusal to tax the Marcellus Shale, while at the same time giving huge handouts to the cracker plant that for the natural gas industry out by Pittsburgh. It's bringing those issues to the fore. So now you find some of the folks in the Democratic Party are having to do a little bit more of a dance with the fracking issue, or at least acknowledge it when it's brought up. They can't just dismiss it. So that in my mind is a victory. But, you know, again, when you're talking about building a social movement or resistance around something against something as powerful as the natural gas industry, it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that's part of it. You know, again, go right back to why we started Raging Chicken Press, is the recognition that this is a long-term project, and that if you want to help build social movements, then part of what has to do, you have to pay attention to the details and that kind of progression. We have to kind of cherish those victories, even when they're small, right, while recognizing the fight keeps on going.